Hello everyone and welcome back to iPaint's iHalo vids. My name is Paints and this video is going to be a little different, but basically I'm going to talk about my matchmaking maps that are in war games in Halo 4. There is 5 maps and a game type. For those of you who aren't familiar with me, I am the creator of some of the Forge maps that you see in Halo 4 matchmaking. I have 4 maps in the Flood playlist, which are Drill Site, The Fourth Kind, Island Plaza, and Substance. As well as one game type, which of course is called Last Stand. I also have another competitive map called Scythe, which is in Team Slayer, Rumble Pit, and I think they've rotated it through a few other playlists as well. It is a team doubles map, but for some reason 343 Industries thought it was a better map to play with 8 players, which is fine. I mean, they allowed me to make some changes to the map. I sent them a few updates, which involved adding some more routes and whatnot. But anyways, this video is going to actually be part of a playlist. In the next 5 videos, I'll be taking a look at those matchmaking maps in the order that they were put into matchmaking. So subscribe if you want to see those. I'll be uploading them individually, and in those next episodes I'll kind of talk about the maps from a creator's standpoint. And I thought this would kind of be a cool idea, and hopefully you guys can get to know some of the history that these maps have. There's not a lot, but you know, whatever. So in this episode I'm just gonna basically talk about some steps that I take when planning out a map. And as you can see, if you're wondering why I'm showing pictures instead of video, it's because I don't know, instead of some boring video of me forging, I went ahead and dug up all kinds of pictures of my maps, 343's maps, Bungie's maps, just like overviews and concept art and all that. And concept art is something I'm going to talk about in this video too, so hopefully you guys enjoy the pictures. The other thing I wanted to mention is, if you've clicked on this video to see some magical way of getting 343 to see your map, you might as well exit the video right now, because that just doesn't exist. I'm here to talk about how I improved my own map design and some steps you guys can take to maybe start creating matchmaking worthy content. I'm not going to tell you guys what to build or what pieces to use or anything like that, or even where to submit them, because let's be honest here, there is no good place to submit them. The Halo Waypoint picture embedding system, or lack thereof, I should say, makes it quite a task to look at maps. And either way, that's not why I'm making this video. I'm making this video to show you guys some steps you can take to plan out a quality map. Now what I'm going to focus on is 4 steps to planning a quality map. And those are going to be concept, imagination, and of course balance and design. It really is not impossible to get a map in matchmaking. I never for a second thought that I would end up with maps in matchmaking, but that's the kind of thing. I was so into designing and creating maps, just trying to constantly outdo other people's maps, that all I wanted to do was give people a really enjoyable experience and atmosphere with each map that I put out. And I just wanted people to play on my maps. But again, I never asked anyone to play my maps. I never asked to have my maps in matchmaking. What the fuck am I talking about? But yeah, feedback is a huge thing. Through testing maps, that was of course a huge thing. But what makes people want to give you feedback? What makes people actually give a shit about your map? You know, like, the planning stage is a huge part that you guys have to consider if you want to build a decent map. So when you test your map, you know, listen to that feedback. Ask yourself why the people weren't enthused. Ask them why they didn't like the map. Also, if you're trying really hard just to have a map in matchmaking and begging for people to see your submissions, you're doing it wrong. Yeah, if you have that mindset, what's going to happen is you're going to try and take the shortest path to get your maps in matchmaking, which involves creating these dull maps over and over again, just trying to get playable maps out there. You're only ever going to be happy with the bare minimum. You're not going to be focusing on that unique experience anymore. Instead, you've kind of turned yourself into this machine, like a map making robot, to speak. That's kind of like, I don't know, you can't really focus on popularity. You have to go for map quality. Like, I don't know. What makes a high quality map is it's a difficult question, I guess. There's a lot of things that go into it. I could sit here talking about it for hours, but as I said, the 4 steps is what I'm basically going to be talking about. So I guess let's start by talking about concept. And concept is basically a rough goal that you want to achieve while building a map. Basically, what makes your map stand out? What are people going to envision when thinking of this map? This can include gameplay mechanics, map geometry, what game modes it works best for, what special things the map has to offer. These are all things that you should think about long before starting the build. And in fact, when I get to the video on drill site, you'll see an example of how easy it is to take one piece of concept art and turn it into a fully functional map. Since Halo is a game we are designing for, oftentimes looking at past Halo maps can really help you out. Take a look at why some of the best Halo maps work and start incorporating some of those mechanics into your own maps. And I can guarantee that people will always love that. Although, you know, don't be copying anything or anything like that. So next on my little checklist thingamabobber is imagination. What setting is your map in? What is the atmosphere going to be like in game when you're finished with the map? And again, much like concept, what comes to a player's mind when they think of playing on that map? Imagination goes hand in hand with concept. Basically, you're taking this kind of external source, whether it be images, ideas, or even sometimes other games, and you're taking that and putting it into perspective with how you're going to pull it off in Forge. So yeah, that's pretty much sums it up. Atmosphere. It's also a really important part of map making. I mean, when you think of the standard maps, they all have a great atmosphere. Of course, I'm talking about the standard Halo maps. The geometry can remain the same, but you have to keep that atmosphere. So I guess the third thing we're going to talk about is balance. So obviously, I mean, you want to have balanced gameplay on your map, and there are a couple ways to go about this. Creating a symmetrical map is the easiest way to do it, for Slayer at least, because you know that neither side has an advantage in geometry that isn't on the other side. But once you get into asymmetrical maps, for things like One Flag, Flood, and some Slayer maps are obviously asymmetrical too. Once you get into those, this is where you're going to have to start thinking about, you know, okay, if the defending team has height advantage in One Flag, what weapons am I going to give to the attackers? And then you start thinking about, well, if that same map is going to support Flood, how am I going to stop the defender's position from being overpowered for the survivors? So there's lots to plan out, especially if you are creating a map that supports multiple game types. Personally, I don't do that too much. I only have a few maps that can do that. So it's kind of easy for me, at least. to focus on one game type, and that way I only have to deal with the balancing issues of one game type. For example, Flood, there's lots of things that you have to look at, such as teamwork, holdouts, sightlines, weapons. Is it fun to be Flood? Height variation. Even Flood maps shouldn't have that flat feeling. Not a lot of people realize how much goes into creating a balanced Flood map. You know, you can't have too many people flock to one area, things like that. CTF, you have your routes to plan for. Spawning is a huge thing in CTF. Your flag away spawns, which is of course where your team spawns when the flag is away. It's very hard to design for and tune just to get that right, and it is a combination of map layout and just having your spawns weighted properly. So there's all kinds of hurdles to get through for each game type, and I would suggest that when you start a map, write down some of the key things that you'll come across when designing that map, so that you're very aware of them when designing. Which brings us to the fourth point, the fourth step, which is design. Now, design is actually going to be planning the whole map out, which I realize a lot of people don't do this, not even myself sometimes, but it is a great way, if you put it on paper or something like that, to have that visual reference while forging, so that you don't end up messing around just connecting pieces together randomly or something like that, making something that you actually don't need in your map. You're just kind of making it for the heck of it. Sketches are something that I absolutely recommend. There's programs on PC, things like SketchUp and that. Now that would be for mainly competitive maps. I've done sketches for Flood maps before, but to do a top-down sketch of an entire Flood map on PC, that's getting a little overboard. But trust me, the more you put into planning, the more comfortably you can forge. You're not really unsure what to do, and you've already kind of thought of all the things that you would run into, so building your map is going to be a piece of cake. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed those steps to how to plan a map. I kind of just, I threw it together, started rambling a bit, but whatever. I threw out as much as I could offer. So yeah, this has been Paints, and I will see you guys in the next video, where I start to talk about my matchmaking maps. Scythe is the first one I'm going to be talking about, so you guys can look forward to that. And thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.